let me get this stuff out of your way, and I'm going to go out there because I want to hear this. All right? Okay.
A testimony. You know, our churches years ago did testimonies all the time. Every Sunday you had a testimony from somebody. And there hasn't been one in years and years. And I came in to do just like an invitation to the church. And I thought, well, goodness, that's going to be a whole, maybe a minute and a half. And we don't want to give all that time for a sermon. So I decided to give a testimony. I was 30 years old before the Lord came to me. I went to the church in Denmark as a little bitty girl, and then I never went to the church, anywhere, until I was 30 years old. And I was living in the Eagle Mountain, California, out in the desert. And we had Kaiser had built a huge community center for basketball and what have you. That's where church was held. And they put all these chairs in, you know, for everybody. I don't care what denomination you were. There was one church, and you went. And we had, from the Jewish synagogue in Palm Springs, we had preachers. The Mormons preached to us, the Baptists, the Lutheran, the Methodists. Everybody preached to us, so we really had a rounded frame out there. But I didn't go to church out there either. And this particular day, we'd been dancing the night before, and a bunch of us were going to get together for breakfast. And earlier than get-up time, the Lord made me get up. And he said, you're going to church. And I'm like, whoa, this isn't happening to me. I went to church. And there sat the people. I was late. And there's all the people that were doing communion. Communion's very, very special to me because of this conversion experience. They're all up front. Everybody there, I don't know, I suppose there was 100, 150 people up front, and there's still chairs. And I went in, I was late, I sat in the very back, and I felt a hand on my shoulder, and I turned to look back. I was the only person in the back of that room. And I thought, I didn't even have time to think. All of a sudden, someone sat down beside me, and I was wrapped. I was wrapped in Jesus' cloak. And I knew it, and I was just totally, completely stunned, and it was a great moment. Well, communion was over, church was out, everybody left. They just walked by me, and I was sitting back there, and I just started to cry, and I probably cried for an hour and a half. And that preacher, I don't know who he was, where he came from, but he sat beside me and he just let me cry. So that was my conversion experience. And the next week, whoever the new pastor was that was coming out that week came to my house, and he said he had 3 books that he wanted to give me. One was a Bible. I didn't have one. One was the literature to teach a Sunday school class. Wow. And one was You Are Now in the Hands of God, Rejoice. And it was a book on what a new Christian was to do. And hallelujah. And they gave me a class, and I said, oh no, you know, they're 9-year-old girls. They know a lot more than I know at 30. But you know how you learn what's in the Bible? Become a teacher, because you have to stay, especially with kids. You've got to stay smarter than those kids, so you really got to study hard. And I had every opportunity through the church. God just directed my life. All of a sudden, I was taken from Eagle Mountain, and I went to Oceanside, California. And at Oceanside, oh my goodness, I went to join. Let me back up to one more thing first. In Eagle Mountain, that town was 2 blocks wide and 12 blocks long. They had 1,500 children, so you know what we did out there. It was a very young community. We played ball and had children. Yeah. And in this whole, in the interim, we got so many people going to church, and they had, you know, we were all of these congregations. And so we went to whatever that pool of churches is, will you come out and build us a church? So we could get out of that rec hall. And the people that answered was the Methodists. That's why we're Methodists today, because they answered that call. And being nothing, yeah, it was Methodist. And in that whole town of people, I had a piano. I was the only person in that town except the lady who played the organ at church. And she got cancer. And she was dying, and she says, Marilyn, there's nobody to take over, and you can play the piano. Well, they didn't have a piano, they had an organ. So I drove an hour and a half, twice a week for 2 semesters to learn how to play an organ. And I came home and I showed her, I finally have this, I can play an organ. She died the next week, just waiting for me to get my organ certificate. And so now I'm over at Oceanside, and out there I played the organ and I directed a choir. And I'm in Oceanside, and of course I love the choir, so I went to join the choir. Well, we're not practicing tonight, they said, because we don't have a piano player. And I said to them, I can play the piano, go ahead and have your practice, I'll just play the piano. And I said, but before we start, I would like to have a prayer. Prayer is so important for any event, just pray. And so I prayed, we sang, we rehearsed all the music that they had, and then somebody came to me and said, will you stay around a few more minutes? They, 2 or 3, 4 of them went outside, then they came back in and says, would you be our new choir director? We haven't had one for several months, and the criteria for a choir director was someone who would come and pray with us. And I had prayed. And so it was a great, great, great experience there. And God just led me again. We were studying the book of Jabez. Enlarge my territory, not the book. It's in the begats in there. Here's a little 4-inch sentence prayer of Jabez. Enlarge my territory. And we were going to study that for a whole month, and we had to say it 2 or 3 days in a row. And always had to keep that in front of us. Enlarge my territory, Lord. Oh, Lord. And then God spoke to me, calling her Brother Penny. Why did I call my brother Penny? That was very unusual. But I was busy doing whatever. Penny called me. Would you like to move to Lincoln? And here I am. And it's just a great, God just directed my life. I was so blessed the whole way. I was in a conference out there in the district, and same thing here. I've been in the conference in the district, and what a blessing. If you just open up and let God use you, and you can get smarter than 9-year-old girls, you really can. But now I'm to the place that I wanted to speak to you today. 2.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I stopped my treatments right in the middle. It was killing me, and I just stopped. And they said then, you won't live out the year if you stop treatments. It's 2.5 years. But at the end of 1.5 years, the cancer came up again, and God bless doctors. They don't know everything. They really do not know everything. And this comes from the book of Job. I had to write, my daughter sent this to me. Job, he had a terrible time. He lost everything, and God gave everything back to him, and his wife said, blame God for this, curse God, No, he just praised God. I'm praising God. And this is what Job said. You have decided the length of our lives. You know how many months we will live. And we are not given a minute longer. And when that surgeon last July said to me, Marilyn, you're going to have surgery again. See, I know how to tear up the place too. If you don't have surgery, you won't see your next birthday. Well, my next birthday happens to be July 17th. And I'm throwing a big birthday party up at the high rise, and I want all of you are invited. If you know of anybody else, it's for supper. It's kind of a come and go, finger food, supper. And the community room isn't very big, so I'm hoping some people will eat at 4, some at 5, some at 6. You know. And so kind of spread it out a little bit. But for my cake, and I was going to be very simple. I'm doing my whole thing very simple. My cake and ice cream, I didn't want to do plates and silverware. You can get cups for coffee. So I decided on ice cream sandwich bars. That's going to be my cake and ice cream. So come, every one of you that's hearing me today, just drop in. Check out that, Post Rock Apartments. It's beautiful up there. It's air conditioned up there. And come anytime. It's going to be from 4 to 7. Friday night supper. It's going to be on my kids, not on me.